All right, call your next witness.
You got a state called Mark Stevens, is it?
All right, summon Mark Stevens, please. Mr. Stevens, good morning, sir. Sir, if you could please approach the witness stand. Once you get there, if you'd be so kind to turn and face Sergeant Ingram, who's sworn as a witness before you sit down.
Yes, sir. I do.
Mark, M-A-R-K, Stevens, S-T-E-V-E-N-S.
Stevens, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Mr. Stevens, are you currently employed?
I am not.
Where did you work prior?
In November, I retired as a police officer from the Dunwoody Police Department.
And prior to your retirement, where did you work prior to your retirement?
With the Dunwoody Police Department.
How long did you work for the Dunwoody PD?
Almost 15 years.
Mr. Stevens, what unit were you assigned to during your time with PD?
When I was hired as a patrol officer. In 2016, I was transferred to the community outreach section.
What were some of your responsibilities as a patrol officer?
To answer 911 calls or any other call for service, enforce traffic laws, and those were our two primary.
And what year were you assigned to the patrol?
I started in 2009 with the Dunwoody Police Department and I was a patrol officer until January of 2016.
And were you board certified during this time?
Yes, sir, I was.
So on or about July 7th, 2015, did you respond to a call at the perimeter mall?
Yes, I did.
What was the nature of that call?
It was a threats call.
After you arrived on the scene, who did you speak with?
I met with the Director of Security, Chris May.
And to your knowledge, was the person who made the threat still on scene?
No.
Were you given any vehicle information to identify the person who made the threat?
Yes, sir. It was a white four-door Jaguar with a partial Georgia temporary plate.
And were you able to get any information with this partial tag?
No, sir. Unfortunately, there was a digit missing, so no returns were available.
Mr. Stevens, who else did you speak with?
After I spoke with Mr. May and I both spoke with a gentleman named Reggie. He's the manager at Champs Sports.
Without telling me what he said, were you able to the manager of Champs to identify?
Yes, he was.
What was the name of the person he identified?
He identified the subject that made a previous purchase as a rapper known as Young Thug.
Was Mr. May able to identify the person who threatened him?
Yes, he was.
And how did Mr. May identify the person?
Mr. May did an images search on his phone and pulled up a picture where he identified that person, the photograph was the one that made the threat against him.
And once you learned the person's name was Young Thug, what did you do?
At the time, I was just still gathering more information. Once I was done with that and left the mall, I went back to do I did some further searches to try and determine a government name for the individual known as Young Thug.
And what did you determine the legal name to be?
I was able to determine it was Jeffrey Williams.
Did you prepare an incident, a report for this incident?
Yes, sir, I did.
Mr. Stevens, do you recall what the language of the threat was?
It was paraphrased. Mr. May did not provide an actual quote. He just said that Young Thug said that he would shoot Mr. May in the face.
Did you take out any arrest warrants or any other additional charges?
No, sir, I did not. I completed my incident report and forwarded it to the case investigator, and the investigator is the one that swore out a warrant.
And did that complete your involvement with this case?
Yes, sir, it did.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Stevens, do you recall Mr. Hutchins being present?
The name I do not recall off the top of my head. It's possible that might have been one of the security officers involved, or, but the name does not. I don't recall the name off the top of my head. No.
Do you recall the demeanor of any of the perimeter mall employees?
I stand the question.
Who do you remember being present during this interaction?
I was not actually there, so I did not witness the interaction between the mall personnel and any other individuals. The only persons I spoke to were Mr. May and then the gentleman at the Champ Sports, Reggie. There were other security individuals that were involved with the incident. They actually spoke with the investigator and not with me.
Objection, that's outside the witnesses, not.
I overrule the objection.
No further questions.
All right, cross.
Morning, former officer.
Good morning, Counselor.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
If you need to see anything with your report to refresh your memory, just let us know. It's in front of you. Just let us know that you're looking at something. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just want to ask you a couple of things. I think this is clear, but just to breeze through this. You were not there at the time this supposed incident occurred. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
You get a call later through your dispatcher coworkers to come to Perimeter Mall, and you do what you do.
That is correct.
And when you arrived at Perimeter Mall, you met with two people. First, you met with who pronounced themselves as the security officer for the mall, named Mr. May, Christopher May. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir. I met with him first.
And you got there, you don't have any information, so you needed to get information from Mr. May.
That is correct.
And he provided you information.
That is correct.
He was cooperative with you.
Yes, sir.
And you took notes.
Yes.
And then those notes get memorialized, as my word, written down into a police report or an incident. Was that all I would say?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
And you do that timely because you go on different events for the community. So this way, when it's fresh in your mind, you write that. Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And that's what you did in this case, right?
That is correct.
And in fact, your report, let me just make sure I'm right. It's dated the same day, 7/7/15, which is July 7, 2015.
Yes, sir. I looked at it earlier. It was written the same day of the reported incident.
Okay. And I want to talk to you about some things that Mr. May told you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. May explained to you that there were three men inside of one Jaguar vehicle. Is that fair to say?
At the end of the incident, yes. Initially, it started in the mall.
Okay. And we could go backwards, but that's the issue with you.
That is correct.
Anything you need to say beforehand, just let me know. Tell the jurors, okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm just getting to the issues.
Yes, sir.
All right. And Mr. May explained that it was a four-door Jaguar vehicle deal.
That is correct.
And they gave you a partial ticket. That's why you couldn't run it. It was just missing a digit.
Yeah, I believe it was missing one digit. Yes.
And then according to Mr. May, he explained to you that the rear passenger told you that if Mr. May continued to approach, he would shoot Mr. May in the face with a gun. Remember that?
That's essentially my recollection from reading the incident report. Yes.
And it was that Mr. May was approaching a person to get back to life. Whatever the statement is, he would shoot Mr. May in the face with a gun. That's what Mr. May said.
That is correct.
This isn't on any recording, right?
As far as I know, it is not, sir. It wasn't recorded by me.
And when you're there at the mall, nobody else came up to you and corroborated that corroborated means
yes, sir.
Supported.
Yes, sir.
Said the same thing. That Mr. Williams, the young thug, made that statement. Is that fair to say?
During that incident, yes, that's correct.
And then Mr. May also told you that after that statement was made, then Mr. May backed away and allowed the Jaguar vehicle to leave the mall. True?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
That Mr. May was holding the Jaguar vehicle at that time. He wouldn't let it leave. That's what he told you, right?
He was trying to, what he told me, he was trying to get them to cooperate. The only thing Mr. May wanted to do is issue them a criminal trespass ban and was trying to get them to cooperate.
And the jurors may not know what a criminal trespass ban is. That means that a person or people are notified he's going to come back on this property.
That is correct. It has nothing to do with any certain type of, they have the right to say, we have a reason to ask you not to come back to the mall again. If you are, you can be prosecuted for it. So that is correct.
And because Mr. May, to his satisfaction, did not get that message across, he was detaining that vehicle, as I explained to you.
He never said anything about detaining. That I don't know.
He wouldn't let the vehicle leave.
When I was told after the threat was made, he backed off and let them leave.
Okay. Then, just to complete the picture for the jurors, there was a belief that Mr. Williams and others purchased many shoes at Champs Sports. You know what Champs sells? Do you remember?
Sports equipment and there's some shoes, jerseys. Yes, sir.
So you realize we go there, maybe a credit card was used.
I didn't. That was not my idea. Mr. May said that the initial incident started outside the Champs Sports. He was under the impression that there had been a purchase made, so we might have been able to identify someone through that purchase.
And that's what you do.
That is correct.
No gun was alleged to have been shown, right?
As far as I know, no one. Mr. May did not report that to me. No gun.
Being shown.
That is correct.
No one said anyone came back.
That is correct. I was not told they returned.
You wrote this up as a disorderly conduct. Do you remember that?
Do you mind if I take a look at it? I don't know if I didn't. On the incident report that I have, sir, the crime incident is listed as assault intimidation.
You see the top, maybe we'll look at different reports. See the top center, and otherwise let me approach and see what you look at.
Yes, sir. I have the incident report that, and I'm working.
All right, may I put the city report? You may.
Counselor, this is the incident report that I did. It starts with Dominey Police Department. The crime is listed here. The one that I have is assault intimidation.
Okay, for a second.
Absolutely.
You might not want to turn the page.
No. Absolutely. And then that's the end of my report there. It's just the initial back, this, and then name there. And then starting there is just further information.
I'm showing you, like, you know what, let me show you this.
Well, Counselor, but I see what you're saying. I don't know why it is. It might have been changed because right here it says.
Let me just show it to you.
Yes, sir. But I'm just saying, did you see that one too, though?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure you saw it.
Show it to you.
No, absolutely.
I'm not going to judge.
It's not a problem.
Sorry, I just want to show. I'm going to approach you again, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, I just want to show this.
No, certainly.
All right. Just remember. So, if you don't mind looking at, I think yours is, what is it, page 3
Yes,
that you were looking at?
that is correct.
And that's your incident report, right?
It has my name down at the bottom as the reporting officer, yes.
Okay. I'd like you to look also at page 25 on the lower right, and I handed it to you. I showed the district attorney already.
Yes, sir.
That's your.
Objection, Your Honor.
Gracious.
I believe that's a witness's report.
Good question.
Let me see it, please. What are you questioning from, Mr. Steele?
Master. That's right.
Okay, let me see yours, please, Mr. Steele. Can I see yours again, please? Okay. Mr. Steele, in order to ask him, I'll sustain his objection. In order for you to ask more questions, you're probably going to need to clarify what you're showing him.
Can you turn to page what is listed 25 on the documents you brought with you?
Yes, Counselor.
Okay. And is that your reporting officer narrative?
Yes, it is.
And is that either substantially or identical to what's on page 3 of the same document you came, which is also reporting officer narrative, except for what's in the center top?
The narrative appears to be the exact same on both pages. There is slightly different wording at the top and at the bottom.
Now, my question to you is, do you know how on page 25, whether you put in disorderly conduct in the center for the offense?
To be honest with you, I do not recall how I termed it.
All right. Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen jury how the report, your report, got changed or altered from page 3 to page 25 specifically in the offense, like you told the ladies and gentlemen jury we were looking at assault, intimidation versus disorderly conduct? Can you explain to them how that changed?
Unfortunately, I do not. When we file an incident report, we select a crime type or types. It is chosen by the reporting officer. Once we submit that report, we don't have the ability to change the type, the narrative, anything. It seems that one is dated 2015, listing disorderly conduct, and one is dated, printed out 2022, lists assault intimidation. But that could not have been done by me. I don't know how that happened, to be honest with you.
You wouldn't have done that, would you?
No, our system doesn't give us the ability to go back and modify.
And the disorderly conduct is the reporting officer narrative that was in July 7, 2015. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it says date and time of the report is July 7th. This was printed on July 9th and listed as disorderly conduct.
That's pretty much complete.
The detective handled the case from there.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Counsel.
Any further examination? Any further redirect, sir?
Just briefly on. The time you were interacting with Mr. May, what security personnel? If you recall. If you recall.
I only spoke directly with Mr. May. I know there were other personnel there on property, but I did not interact with any of them. The case investigator ended up speaking with the other person.
And if you recall, did anyone contradict what Mr. May stated his statement to you?
No, they did not.
I'll object to the form of the question.
Basis, I'll sustain the form of the question. Sure, you can rephrase if you like.
Did anyone say that Mr. May's statement was not true?
No, they did.
Your Honor.
Still, I sustain that objection.
Was this a direct quote by Mr. May?
No, a direct quote was not provided to me.
Mr. Steele asked you if Mr. May said, if you approach, I will shoot you in the face. And these were not, were these exact, Mr. May's exact words?
No, sir. I paraphrase what is said. If a direct quote, such as "my name is Smith," is used, I use quotation marks to note that that is a direct quote used by an individual. Without direct quotes is only paraphrased.
Did you put? No further question.
Anything further? All right. At this point in time, may Mr. Stevens be permanently temporarily excused as a witness?
Permanently, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Stevens, I'm going to permanently excuse you as a witness. Appreciate your patience with us. Just don't discuss testimony with anybody except the attorneys in this case, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, state called Sergeant Sean Lenahan to the stand.
Sergeant Lanahan?
Lenahan.
Lanahan. All right. Summon Sergeant Lanahan, please. Sergeant Lanahan, good morning, sir. Sir, if you would please approach the witness stand. Once you get there, if you would turn and face Sergeant Ingram and be sworn as a witness before you sit down, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Raise your right hand. You swear affirm testimony you give the truth, whole truth, and nothing but truth.
I do. Sergeant Sean Lenahan, first name Sean, last name Lenahan. Len, no, N is in November. Ahan. Yes.
And Sergeant Lenahan, where are you on?
With the City of Dunwoody Police Department.
And how long have you been with the City of Dunwoody Police Department?
11 years.
And what's your current assignment?
I am a patrol supervisor, sergeant on the road.
And how long have you been served as a sergeant?
Since 2015.
And prior to your role as sergeant, what did you do?
Prior to that, I was a detective in the criminal investigative division, and prior to that, I was a patrol officer.
And how long did you serve as an investigator in the criminal investigation division?
From 2012 to 2015, so 3 years.
And are you post certified?
I am.
And were you post certified on July 7, 2015?
Yes.
If you can tell the jury briefly, what were some of your jobs and responsibilities as investigators in the criminal investigation division?
To follow up on any criminal leads that we may have for on different cases, different types of cases, to make arrests, also to I guess make court appearances and things like that in reference to cases.
Now, in the Delaware Police Department, as an investigator in the criminal investigation division, did you have a particular area that you were assigned, or did you handle any case that came up in all of them?
Any case that came up in the city of Dunwoody.
And Perimeter Mall, is that within the city of Dunwoody?
Yes.
I want to direct your attention to July 7, 2015. Did you have the occasion to investigate a terrorist threat incident that occurred at that location?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you first get involved with the investigation?
There was a police report made, and it got assigned to me.
And who made the police report?
Officer Mark Stevens.
Officer Stevens. Mm-hmm. And you said, is that a yes?
I'm sorry, yes, ma'am.
And what was your understanding of what you had to investigate?
My understanding was that there were two gentlemen at the time riding foot scooters or hoverboards.
Who was that?
Mr. Steele, yeah.
Your Honor, the testimony has comment is no longer here. Mark Stevens just testified.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Well, why don't you? I'm gonna stay in the objection. Lay a little more foundation.
When you got the police report, did you review it?
Yes, I did.
And once you reviewed it, what was your understanding of what you needed to investigate?
Objection.
Overrule the objection.
Go ahead.
Okay. My understanding was a terroristic threat of a person threatening to shoot another person in the face with a gun.
And in order to investigate what occurred, what did you do?
So I set up a meeting with the witness and the victim, or the victim and the witnesses that were present. And then I went over to the mall and met with the three, I think it was three witnesses and the victim. And I'm sorry. Okay. So then I asked them to write statements, and then I would come back and pick them up. Each person to write their own statement, and I would come back and pick it up. And then I left the scene, or I left the office, and then I went back and did other things and came back and picked it up another day.
So let's slow that down.
Okay.
You went super fast.
Oh, okay.
All right. So you said that your responsibility was to investigate terrorist threats.
Correct.
And when did you first get the police report handed to you?
I believe it was 2015.
And let me first ask, on July 7, 2015, you first get the report from Officer Stevens. Did you go to the mall on that day or another day?
I believe it was the next day or the day after. I'm not sure the exact day, but it was shortly after that, yes.
And when you went to the mall, what did you do?
I met with them in the security office.
So let me ask you, said them.
I'm sorry, the victim, Chris May, and the three witnesses, turned out to be three witnesses that were present during the threat.
Okay. So you said Chris May was the victim. Who were the three witnesses that you met?
The exact names, I think Hutchins was the last name of one of them. The other one was, can I look at my notes or do you want me?
Well, let me approach. We're looking at a copy of your report, refresh who you spoke with.
It wasn't you.
Okay. I want to show you what will be one of the Exhibit 191. P, and I can show you. I'm going to show him the entire thing. I'm going to show you what's been labeled as State Bill 191P to help refresh your memory. I'm going to direct your attention specifically to pages 28 through 31. Tell me that helps refresh your memory as to the three witnesses that you met.
Christopher May is the victim, and then, yes, Officer Hutchins and Campbell and Barron.
First with Officer Hutchins. What was Officer Hutchins' first name?
Right.
Okay. And what about Officer Campbell?
Officer Campbell, I don't remember his first name.
Okay. And what about, you said that one was Barron?
Yes, his name is Jonathan.
And you said you met with them at Furniture Mall. Where in Furniture Mall did you?
In the security office.
And while in the security office, were all four of them together, the victim and the three witnesses?
Yes, they were present.
What do you recall about your initial interaction with Mr. May, Mr. Hutchins, Mr. Barron, Mr. Campbell while security?
They seemed concerned about the threat and the possibility of it being carried out. They didn't.
Hold on.
Confrontation clause.
You heard his observation. Right.
I'll sustain the question as to form. Why don't you rephrase?
What was your observation of the individuals as you were speaking with?
I observed them to be concerned about the possibility of the threat being carried out, and that they were wondering and asking questions about what we might.
I'm overruling the objection.
Go ahead.
They were asking about what was going to be, what were the next steps, what was going to happen after we met.
And while you met with the four individuals, did you instruct them to do anything?
Yes.
What did you instruct them to do?
I instructed them to individually make statements or write statements as to their recollection of the events.
Why did you ask them to each write their own statement?
Because that would be their individual, it wouldn't be one collective statement. It would be that they individually stated what they saw happen or what they recollect of the event.
And did you tell them how to write it? Did you tell them to type it, handwrite it?
Well, I instructed them to handwrite it, but then they came back and they typed it.
So you gave instructions for handwriting.
I sustain the objection. That's the answer.
When you first met with them, did they give you their statements on that day?
No, they did not.
Once you gave them the instructions to write a statement out, what did you do? Did you leave?
I did, yes. I left.
And do you recall when did you go back to get the statements?
I did.
When did you go back to get the statement?
I came back. It was I would say it's about a day later, a day and a half.
And when you went back to get the statements, where did you go?
Back to the security office.
And what happened once you went back to get the statement at the security office?
They each gave me their statement from their hand to mine. They directly gave it to me.
We said they each gave you their statement.
Mhm.
Explain.
I asked them each for their statements, and they took the paper and handed it to me.
So Mr. May gave you his statement.
Correct.
Did Mr. Hutchins give you his statement?
Yes. Correct.
Did Mr. Barrett give you his statement?
Yes.
And Mr. Campbell gave you his statement?
Yes.
Did you ask them any questions about their statements?
No, we did not.
And I think you just testified when they gave you back the statements, were they handwritten or typed?
They were typed. Hand signed though. They had handwritten signatures. Mm-hmm.
Once they gave you their statements, did they appear that they were forced to give you the statements?
No,
Did they appear as if they didn't want to give you the statements?
no.
Permission to approach?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Stacy Exhibit 190P. Do you recognize Stacy Exhibit 190P?
Is that the same as you showed?
That's the same one I did earlier.
I recognize it as Mr. Dwight Hutchins' statement.
And that's the same statement that you received from the White House hands back on in July 2015.
Yes.
And does that appear to be the type statement with the signature of the White House that you received from him back in July 2015?
Yes.
You're on this conversation like turning Stacy to the 190 into evidence.
And Jackson states 190p.
Yes, sir. It's a written document. Not go back with the jury, and it's not, there's no question, just identify something.
Can you approach a second, please? Okay, it's Talk Radio.
Can't hear him, Judge.
Okay, I'm going to overrule the objection of Mr. Steele. I'll notice continuing.
Commissioner Pop.
You may, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Mr. Sergeant Linehan, I want you to read it from top to bottom.
Just a statement, madam.
Just a statement.
Just a statement. The entirety.
Okay. On July 7th, 2015 at 16:40 p.m., I, Officer Hutchins, approached two black males about to go down the center court escalator on motorized mini Segways. I spoke to both the males and advised them that they could not ride the mini Segway in the mall due to mall policy, and it's very dangerous to get on the escalators riding them also. The two males ignored me and the mall policy that I quoted them. I then called dispatch to advise them of the situation, and I also told them to call Dunwoody. Director May then called and asked for my location. He met me at the lower level Macy's in front of Champs. We waited on the two males to come out of Champs. As they exited the store, Director May spoke with them and also quoted the mall policy to them again, and they also ignored. They kept riding the Segways to the center court and was saying that that we are leaving, as Mr. May was telling them that they needed to get off the mini Segways. They went on the escalator on the Segway and out upper level Main. Mr. May was still trying to get their attention while advising them of the mall policy. Outside upper level Main, they were greeted by Supervisor Barron and Campbell, who also quoted mall policy to them, and they ignored them also. At East Main Valet, where they were parked, Mr. May was asking them to leave the property, and one of the males shouted out that they would come back and shoot Mr. May in the face, and from there, Mr. May told dispatch to call Dunwoody Police.
And was that the fine research?
Yes, it was.
And was the date of the signature?
7/7/2015.
And again, this is what Mr. Hutchins handed to you.
Yes.
Now, when Mr. Hutchins gave this to you, either on the day you picked it up or when you first gave him the instructions, did he appear as if he understood what you were asking him?
Yes.
Did Mr. Hutchins ever indicate to you or give you any indication that he was forced to write this statement?
No.
When he handed it to you, did he give you any indication that that was not his words or what he was relaying?
No.
When you initially gave the instructions to write your statement, did Mr. Hutchins ask you any questions? You remember him asking you any questions about what to write in the statement?
I don't know. No.
Now, once you received all of the statements from Mr. May, Mr. Hutchins, Mr. Barrett, and Mr. Campbell, what did you do next?
I left the location.
Did you eventually take out charges for Mr. Jeffrey Williams?
I did.
And what charges did you take out?
1 count of terroristic threats.
And why did you take out the terroristic threats warrant?
I had corroboration of
Relevant. Basic. I'm overruled objection.
I got the threat because I had the corroboration of 3 witnesses that heard the threat, and the threat is to harm or seriously injure or kill Mr.
And
May.
use the word corroboration. What does that mean?
The three witnesses all had the same recollection of what happened, and they stated that to me.
If you did not have corroboration, you get taken out.
No.
After taking out this warrant, as it relates to solely the terroristic threats portion of it, did that include your fault?
Yes.
No further questions.
Cross. Oh, before you begin, I'll admit, it's the state's 190.
Yeah.
I'll admit with the objections that were made.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
I'd like to ask you some questions. Start with corroboration, okay?
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, the 3 witnesses you're talking about is Mr. Hutchins, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Barron, correct?
Correct.
Barron, if that sounds right.
That sounds correct. I'm not sure.
And Mr. Campbell, Campbell, fair?
Yes.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury whether any of those witnesses said that Mr. Jeffrey Williams, young thug, person in the back seat, person in the front seat, made that statement that you're telling the jurors.
Objection, compound question.
I sustain the question. You can just break it up, Mr. Steele.
Did Mr. Barron say that Jeffrey Williams, young thug, or a specific person identified in any way made that statement that we're talking about? To corroborate Mr. May's statement that it was said by Mr. Williams.
No, they did not.
Did Mr. Campbell say in any way that it was Mr. Williams, young thug, or a description of this is the person sitting here wearing this, looking like that, made that supposed statement?
In their statement or just, okay. Not in their statement.
Okay. And did Mr. Hutchins, the jurors already saw it, did you read to him? He also said it. One of the people said that, right?
Correct.
And that was consistent throughout, correct?
Correct.
Now, when you explain to the jury, I think you remember meeting with these 3 people and Mr. May in a room. Is that what you said?
Correct. The security office.
And do you know what was discussed, if anything, about this incident, about what supposedly went on and what people heard before these statements were written between the three of them? Or
No, no, sir, I don't.
You wouldn't have any knowledge.
No, sir.
And when you were asked by the district attorney whether you took out a warrant for terroristic threats, you're aware the district attorney office in DeKalb County dismissed this case, correct?
Yes.
For no corroboration, correct?
Objection. Speculation.
I'll sustain the objection.
Do you have it in your report in front of you?
That is what that says.
I couldn't hear you on top.
It says lack sufficient corroboration that the threat would be consumed or consummated.
And it's me, I'm confident it's me, but I couldn't hear the end. You said lack sufficient corroboration, then you started to say something.
I was just continuing to read. It said, was conditional and lack sufficient corroboration that the threat would and could be consummated.
Okay. And that was pretty much your end of the saga in this incident, correct?
Yes.
Just so the jurors know, there's no recordings or anything that you could share with them about meeting with any witness. Is that fair to say?
No, sir.
Am I correct?
You're correct.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Any other examination? Any further questions from the state?
Mr. Steele asked you about whether or not in any of the witness names that they mentioned Mr. Williams or Younger.
Mhm.
You recall that?
I do.
With all of the statements, did they indicate how many males made that statement? They said it was one male, two males. Did they indicate?
I think they did say one of the males makes the statement in each one, but they didn't specify.
Just confirm, they say one of the males.
Basis. I sustain the question.
Given what Mr. Steele asked you, and looking at any of those things, would have a fresher memory as to how the witness identified the individual who made the threat about shooting someone.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Sure. Looking at the three statements, would have a fresher memory as to how they identified the person who made the threat.
They identified the man who made the threat by looking at him and then speaking with the manager at Champs, and then the photos on the internet is how they identified exactly who he was. The manager at Champs said that it was.
Sustain the objection.
When each of the individuals who wrote their signature at three witnesses,
Yes, ma'am.
did they indicate if it was only one of the men that made that statement about shooting?
Only one of the males, yes.
Only one of them.
Oh.
Now, Mr. Still asked you a lot about what the district attorney's office did. As a law enforcement officer, do you have control over how the district attorney's office disposed of their case?
Oftentimes, no.
All the time. When you took out your warrant, did you, based on your experience, take it out based on the corroboration that you had?
Yes.
And in your experiences, has the district attorney's office in DeKalb County done things opposite than the warrant that you've taken out?
Yes.
So this is not the first time that has happened.
No.
I have no further questions.
Anything further, sir?
Sergeant, point to where in any of your reports dealing with what we're calling the three witnesses, Mr. Hutchins, Mr. Campbell, or Mr. Barron, does it say anything about looking at a photograph, identifying young thug, identifying Mr. Williams as the person who made that statement? Anyway.
From the witnesses?
Sure, that's what we're.
Well, it's in the victim's written statement.
Okay, now you say the victim, that's Mr. May.
Right.
I'm ignoring because you separated him from the three witnesses.
Well, when they went back to the store.
Now, which of you looking at the report done by Officer Stevens?
No, I'm looking at Mr. May's statement.
Okay, well, okay.
Mr. May's statement is when they went back to. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, let's be specific. Who is they?
Okay.
You know, you can, I don't mind talking, but just instead of using the word they in Mr. May's statement, who you?
It says, Officer Stevens arrived and together we went to Champs with the manager of Champs, Reggie, informed us that the male who was on the device was a known rapper by the name Young Thug.
Now, that is Mr. May, Christopher May,
Yes.
according to Mr. May's statement, right?
Yes.
Officer Stevens, a coworker of yours at that time,
Yes.
and speaking with a gentleman from Champs.
Correct.
Just want to make sure. That's the entirety, right?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything further? State.
Nothing on the stage.
All right. At this point in time, Sergeant Lanahan be permanently or temporarily excused as a witness.
You be permanently.
All right, Sergeant Lanahan, appreciate your patience with us. I'm going to go ahead and permanently excuse you as a witness, so you're free to go about your usual duties and avocation. Just don't discuss your testimony but accept the attorneys in this case, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's about almost 10 after 12. How about some lunch? All right, excellent. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and recess once I finish all my announcements and pronouncements to you and ask you to come back for 1:30. Okay? Remember all of my ad nauseum admissions to you at this point in time. In particular, are you okay? Are you allowed to, now that you've heard some more testimony, discuss the matter in your headquarters jury deliberation room? No, you're not. Okay, all right. And remember all the other things that I told you in terms of just your behavior up to this point in time. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves in onesies and twosies. Don't discuss anything that you might have heard in the courtroom today until such time as the court gives you instructions on how you to consider what you've heard within the four walls of this courtroom. If anybody should try and touch base with you in any form of transmission, email, text, phone call, or otherwise try and talk to you in person, please, you need to let Sergeant Ingram know immediately and let me know. All right? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like for the after we come back from lunch, we should have a regular workday conclusion, and then we'll see where the rest of the week leads us at that point. Okay, any questions of me? Okay, all right. Enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you back at 1:30. Okay, all right. All rise. He's ready to go. He's been ready. So. Okay. Okay, our jurors left us. You may be seated. All right, councilors, I'll see you all back for 1:30, okay? And we'll start back then. All right? Okay, we're in recess.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. I will wait until 8:30 to call the case. So we have about a minute and 15 seconds. The court will call State of Wisconsin versus Darrell E. Brooks, case number 21 CF 1848. May I have the appearances, please.
Good morning, Judge Sue Opper, Leslie Basie, and Zach Wichow appearing for the state.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. Appearance, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Darrell Brooks Jr. I'm here for this matter by special appearance. It is not my intention to bring any controversy to you, Your Honor, or your court today. I'm wondering how I may settle this matter. Is there anyone here in the court that can give me a rendering of the account? Please,
Mr. Brooks, your appearance is noted. The court will not be responding to that last question. We are here today to start the sentencing hearing in this case. This, of course, following your conviction on all counts, following the jury trial that concluded in late October. I will acknowledge, sir, there are a number of documents you filed today. One is a motion for stay pending appeal. There are 2 ICFs that came in as well, both addressed to me. One related to court costs and fees, requesting a copy of the record at the court's expense. And then the other one also requesting a certified copy of the record, written and recorded, statement that you're waiving all fees and court costs, and that you would be appearing by special appearance. The court's not going to take these up initially, sir. In order for a court to consider a motion for stay pending appeal, the matter must be finally adjudicated, including the signing of a judgment of conviction. Once that is done, I will schedule the motion for stay pending appeal accordingly. That way the state can also have proper notice of that and be prepared to address that with the court. In terms of your request to waive costs and fees, I will interpret your written ICFs as a request that at sentencing I waive costs associated with these convictions to the extent that is allowable under the law. As far as the record is concerned, this court is not the custodian. As far as anything in the written record or the file, the clerk of court is the custodian. As far as the official transcripts of the proceedings, those will need to be prepared, and there are costs associated with that, and there is a form that you or a lawyer acting on your behalf would need to file in order for this court to consider that. So I'll take all of that under advisement, but will not be addressing that specifically other than what I have just noted. The other thing I want to take up preliminarily before I hear from individuals who are here to make statements is the letter that I sent to the parties yesterday. It does address one topic that I wanted to address at the beginning of the hearing today, and that is your request for individuals to speak at sentencing did not contain a request that they appear by Zoom. And I wanted to clarify that with you, sir. If you were requesting that they appear by Zoom and make their statements if they're not present in the courtroom on your behalf when the appropriate time comes.
Yes, I apologize for that, Your Honor. I didn't know that. Was it some type of step that I was supposed to include in that to make sure that they would appear by Zoom? I'm a little confused, so I apologize for that.
Sir, I don't know where any of these individuals live, whether they are local and can make it here or not. And I had anticipated that either of the parties, if there was a request for someone to appear by Zoom, that would be specifically made so that I could then take the appropriate steps. There is time. My intention would be that when the state has rested their portion of the sentencing hearing, all of their speakers have spoken and they have given their sentencing argument, that I would, depending on where it's at, probably take a break, start up the Zoom at that point, allow the individuals who wish to make a statement on your behalf to do so one at a time. But otherwise, I wasn't going to keep the Zoom up because the proceedings are being live streamed. Is that acceptable to you, sir?
In part, So I'm still a little confused on how would I get the Zoom link to those who wish to speak on my behalf?
My understanding is your mom has contacted the clerk of court's office. I haven't addressed that in any way, but I would then give my staff permission to reach out to her. I believe she has left her phone number, and we could do that and provide that Zoom information to her. And I presume she would be able to get it to the individuals on your list. It's very important, though, that only those individuals appear on the Zoom. That's the only people I will approve, unless they're here in court, of course. And then the other parameters are that that individuals who are on the Zoom for that portion of the sentencing hearing keep their microphones off, their cameras off until they are making a statement, and they have to be identified with obviously the name that was provided by you, and only those individuals. What I don't want to see is, one person and then 10 people behind them. That's not what I approved. So do you understand that, sir?
I have a quick question about that. Like
All right.
one of the people that wish to speak on my behalf would be the mother of my youngest daughter. And I'm not sure when exactly she'll be speaking. And it's a chance that she would actually have my daughter with her. With that,
How old is your daughter?
she's 8.
As long as the child remains quiet and doesn't interrupt, I will allow that one exception.
Thank you.
All right, so I will instruct Madam Clerk to let my other clerk know that the Zoom information can be released to your mom. There's a meeting ID and passcode, and that can be provided to the other individuals on the list. And I anticipate that won't be until sometime this afternoon that we get to that portion of the sentencing hearing.
So if they have, because I know my grandmother would like to speak, and she's very, very elderly. So if she has any trouble like accessing it, will someone probably on my behalf be able to walk her through that? Or
Well, I assume she might need help with that, or someone will be available.
She's 80, so I don't think she's. Well, I know that she's not the most.
I trust they will have
savvy.
that all figured out, sir. So, all right. All right, then. Is there anything else the parties wish me to address preliminarily before I turn to the state?
Yes, Your Honor, I do have a few preliminary matters, please. The filings that you just referenced from Mr. Brooks, I did not see those in the electronic queue this morning. Would it be possible for the state to get copies, please?
Yes, they, I believe, were hand delivered. Or Zach may be, my other clerk Zach may be doing that right now. We'll make sure, but Teresa can make copies for you as well.
Okay. I also wanted to ask a couple of housekeeping matters, Your Honor, as far as timing and scheduling. If we complete the hearing today, then I assume that eliminates the need for the hearing tomorrow. Is that correct? Or do you see a version where we come back tomorrow no matter what?
I do see a version where we come back tomorrow no matter what. I want to be able to digest the statements from everyone and process them accordingly. There's going to be quite a few for both sides, and I think it's appropriate that I take the overnight to do that and come back tomorrow to render the sentence.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. The other question is, we have the easel back in the courtroom. Some people did want to display some foam boards. If it meets the court's approval, we'll leave it at this location and then just pass up the exhibits, and Detective Regland can display them if that's okay with the court.
Well, it's certainly like Mr. Brooks to be able to see them as well. Mr. Brooks, are you able to see the easel from where you are? Otherwise, I could have it put in the witness stand too. And then Detective Regland could just
Sure.
Kind of facilitate that.
Sure. Okay. That will work. And then other individuals have brought digital photographs that we'll be displaying. So we'll need your clerk's assistance with that. And again, we'll be using Ms. Gussie at the back table to accomplish that.
All right. Thank you. All right. Anything else from you, sir, before we start this morning?
Yeah, just really quick. Very quick reference to the ICFs. I did address a ICF to the clerk of courts in regards to the record. So I did. I should have mentioned that when you was talking about it, but I did. Actually, I addressed it to her personally.
I trust she'll respond in due course then. Anything else?
Not at this time, man.
All right. I will note that it appears yesterday some restitution information was filed. Was that hand delivered to Mr. Brooks, Attorney Opera? The restitution information, was that hand delivered to Mr. Brooks?
Yes. Everything we e-filed yesterday was provided to Mr. Brooks personally in the jail, Your Honor.
I object to that, Your Honor. There were a number of documents that I did not accept.
I'll have
And
the
mainly-
clerk print them off. There is a restitution request from the Waukesha School District totaling, well, that's just one piece of it. Let me look at the letter again. There's a letter from the state and then a crime victim compensation request as well. The state will be requesting $47,193.29 to EMC Insurance Company on behalf of the School District of Waukesha, and additionally requesting $124,220.65 to crime victim compensation. That's the program through the Department of Justice. And supporting documentation, I believe, was also filed. Let me just look for that.
Well, can you say it again, Your Honor?
And we'll have it printed off.
It was delivered to him yesterday. Whether he accepted it or not, I don't know, but it's available to him in the jail, Your Honor.
All right, understood. All right, thank
I
you.
don't have it, just for the record.
Madam Clerk will print it off and you'll have it shortly.
I don't know if where they put it after I didn't. And the reason why I want to state this for the record, the reason why I didn't is because I didn't know what it was. When they came to my cell, I was sleeping, so I was just like, whatever, I'm not getting up. So it wasn't like a exchange or anything like that. It was just like, hey, we got some mail. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not. It was like, all right.
All right, that'll be noted for the record, but again, it is being provided to you this morning, and you'll be able to review that as you see fit. All right, then Attorney Opper, one last question from the court. Do you anticipate making your sentencing recommendation at the conclusion of all of the other statements being made?
Yes.
All right. With that, then, you may commence.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. And I appreciate that. I do intend to just make some very brief preliminary statements to the court and then commence with the individuals who are present and have asked to speak. I just want to state again for the record, we have organized the individuals who want to provide a verbal statement to the court into 3 or 4 groups. I think we're at 3. We're at 4. Okay, we're at 4 groups. We have the first group present in the courtroom, Your Honor, and along with their support persons and family members and things like that. We will go through the first group and then request that brief break to trade out the groups if that's agreeable to the court. I just want the court to be aware and state something that's maybe obvious, but maybe not. The people that are speaking to this court are direct victims of this crime. They were either charged individuals or representatives of the groups such as the Blazers or the bank or whatever. You're very familiar with these groups now after having gone through trial. These are people with a direct link to either someone that was hurt or injured or killed. That's who we're presenting to you today. Obviously, there could have been thousands of people that would want to share with this court their thoughts, impressions, and the impact that this crime had on them. We did not turn anyone away, but some individuals did contact our office and expressed a desire to contact the court to speak to the court, we directed them to write the court a letter if they felt it was appropriate. I don't know if the court received any such written materials. We also provided some written impact statements on behalf of our charged victims. I know the court has those and has very likely reviewed those already. So I don't want to spend a lot of time with my thoughts and impressions right now, because I think what's really most important is for this court to hear from these families. And the reason I say that is, Judge, that at trial, we asked some cursory questions about the injuries that were received and the impact that these crimes had on the individuals that were directly involved, but we didn't spend a lot of time on that. And I think this court is really going to be astounded to hear the level of injury that many of these people suffered. Many children suffered the impact, the life-changing impact it's had on them. So this will be different and new information than what we presented at trial. And I think it's very relevant and important for Your Honor to consider when you're deciding on a fair and appropriate sentence, and knowing the gravity of the crime, the seriousness of the situation, and the impact that it had on the community, to hear from these families directly as to what they went through. And again, this was touched on at trial as far as the physical injury versus the emotional injury and the trauma that has been suffered. So I think that will be important as well for this court to appreciate this defendant's conduct. We're past the guilty finding. He's been convicted. Now it's time to talk about what exactly his conduct did to our community and to these families. So these speakers are grouped, not necessarily within the groups as they march down the street, but there is some logic to, so we're not going to bounce all over the place is what I'm trying to say. We'll try and clump them together to make the most sense to the court, and with the court's permission. We have a set lineup. Of course, we may need to be a little bit fluid depending on somebody's emotional state or desire to speak when it's their appointed turn. There are some individuals that have said they're going to try and read their statement to the court, but they may not be able to get through it, in which case I believe Jen Dunn will step in and read the remainder of the statement for them.
Thank you. Would you please confirm on the record that the state has complied with victim rights?
Yes, we will confirm that, Your Honor. Thank you.
And then please give the court a heads up when a juvenile is next.
Yes.
So that the cameras can take the appropriate steps as well.
Yes, absolutely. And for the record, we did provide a list to the cameramen from Court TV or individuals from Court TV, and we're trying to assist them in that regard as well. We want to thank them again for their high degree of concern for obeying the court's order and their respect and intention to strictly adhere to maintaining the privacy rights of these victims. So they've been absolutely very professional in that regard, Your Honor.
Thank you. And then just lastly, because I would like to keep track, and obviously I will honor however they want to introduce themselves, but if you could also tell me which victim they relate to, if it's not self-evident,
Sure.
that would be great as well. And I'm going to keep a list.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, then. I believe our first speaker would be Lori Loken.
And if it pleases, this is on. How's the volume? There we go. If it pleases the court, Your Honor, one of my staff will actually go let Court TV know when a minor is coming next.
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
All right. And are you going to say the victim that you relate to, or I can tell the court this is for victim you?
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. I'm addressing the court. Is the microphone on? Yeah, it is. Okay. I'm addressing the court, but I also want to direct my comments to Daryl Brooks Jr. My name is Lori Locken. I was walking with the Catholic community of Waukesha, my church family. We were celebrating the joy of the season in preparation for the birth of Jesus when you made your decision to drive through the parade route. It truly amazes me that you deny your accountability for the damage and hurt that you have willfully caused. In the years ahead, I urge you to carefully consider the sorrow and grief of the Waukesha community and the world at large. Ponder the loss of lives within our families, the physical and emotional injuries that may never heal, and the sense of personal safety that you robbed from us. As for me, you never gave me a chance. I turned around and it was only seconds before you hit me square on. I clearly remember feeling the impact. The searing pain of that blow is as clear to me today as it was a year ago. Since then, I'm healing as best as I can from the physical injuries. But you took away my peace and my trust, something that I will never regain. My prayer for you is that you will find your salvation in the midst of this evil. I hope that you will repent for the heartache you have caused so many. I too pray that your own personal wounds that you have sustained through your life, which has created so many demons in you, will be healed through this action. Thank you.
Thank the court for this opportunity. I am Bill Mitchell, formerly known as Victim ZZ. To you, Mr. Brooks, I'm charge 52. On November 21st, 2021, I was marching with the Catholic community of Waukesha and the Waukesha Christmas Parade. I was walking in the back and I noticed our banner was flying up because of the wind. So I went up to hold down the middle with so people could read it. I was joined by a priest who helped hold it down. We walked almost the entire joyful parade route when something caught my attention. I turned around and saw a headlight. And then I was hit. I didn't see the driver and I didn't see the type of vehicle. I flew over the hood and ended up on the ground with 8 broken ribs, bruised lung, fractured hand, finger. My face was slashed open in several places, requiring stitches. Strangers and friends came to my aid as I lay bleeding in the street. I spent 3 nights in an ICU. Recovery was slow. My hand still has painful cramps that freeze in my fingers. But I know I was lucky. Others had a lot worse injuries and 6 died. The impact on my family was great. My wife was home recuperating from surgery when she received the call that was hurt badly and on the way to a hospital trauma center. Not able to drive yet, she had to wait for my son and his fiancee to pick her up and drive her to Oconomowoc. And after I was released, she had to do a 180 from patient to be my nurse and help me in even the most basic tasks. The stress had slowed her recovery. The continuing pain was a major factor on me giving up a part-time job I enjoyed. We had to rely on family and friends for transportation to doctors for follow-up care for months. Neighbors pitched in to do my yard work and snow removal. Youth from the neighborhood decorated the inside of our house for Christmas. This crime had a ripple effect throughout the community. I do want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your diligence and sacrifice to be here. I tell people I was blessed because I didn't see the carnage that night. I just saw people helping me. But the jury and all of you had to watch the entire awful scene on videos and hear detailed reports of what happened. I'm sure that's going to stay with all of you. I wanted to thank the judge for her patience and knowledge, the police, Detective Casey, for their thorough investigation and quick arrest, the prosecution for presenting such a strong case. A special thank you to Jen Dunn, Carrie, and the entire victims assistance team that informed, comforted, and listened to the many people impacted by this tragic event. Finally, I can't bring myself to thank the defendant, but the response to the evil act he did shined a spotlight on how strong, supportive, and loving community we live in. Many people and organizations stepped up to help me. Family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, first responders, Aurora, doctors, nurses, my church family, the Catholic community of Waukesha, Knights of Columbus, AOH, United for Waukesha Community Fund, Catholic Charities, and so many strangers offered support and prayers. The vast majority of people are good. That said, then there is Mr. Brooks. He is a unique individual who can have a clear conscience after running over kids like speed bumps and killing 6 people. I would suggest someone without a conscience. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. He doesn't admit to doing anything wrong. It is never his fault. When he slapped a woman, it was her fault because she made him mad. I believe if he made it home that night with the red SUV, he would have told his mom the damage wasn't his fault. He was in a hurry and people didn't get out of his way. Some crazy old fat gray hair guy body slammed his foot. I didn't watch all the trial, but the parts I saw showed Mr. Brooks had a lack of empathy for his victims or remorse for his actions. The only regrets he seemed to have is that he was caught and the impact on his own life. Free, he would probably not drive through another parade, but chances are someone so self-centered as Mr. Brooks will hurt other people again. The only life he seems to value is his own. I don't believe that Mr. Brooks will think about me or any of his victims ever. The feeling is mutual. I really don't think much about him now, but when the prison door closes on this felon, I won't think about him again. I do hope Mr. Brooks will use the Bible for more than a courtroom prop. He may want to start with the basics that I know his family had taught him, thou shalt not kill, but then you might want to read Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. Your Honor, I hope you give him the time to read and study the Bible. Mr. Brooks did everything he could to try to make the trial a circus. It is not a circus. It's not even about Mr. Brooks. Today, the court will hear what the trial is about, the victims. And as former victim ZZ, I would ask the court for a sentence that keeps the defendant, Darrell E. Brooks Jr., away from society forever. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks, my name is Jason Peckloff, and I'm with the Catholic community of Waukesha. I was one of the victims you hit with the SUV you were driving on November 21st. What you did to my Catholic community and to the city of Waukesha show that you had no regard for life. What makes it more disappointing that you have shown no remorse for what you have done. While you're sitting in prison, I want you to reflect what you have done. I want you to reflect that you nearly took my life. I almost lost the chance to see my wife and kids again. I may have never had the chance to love or hug them again. You intentionally harmed my community, whether it was physical or psychological. You stole our innocence that day. Before that tragedy you created, it was a beautiful day we all experienced and never thought an evil thing like this could ever happen at a parade. My friend, myself, and the Waukesha Catholic community were asking parishioners and their families to participate in this parade. Imagine the guilt we must all bear for the rest of our lives. Because of your actions, I was out of work for about 6 weeks. Then I had to go back part-time because of my sustained injuries. Because of your actions, the multiple lacerations you created leaked out of the bandages and onto my bed comforter and sheets. What an awful visual to have. Because of your actions, I could have lost my foot. Thank God my nurse friend was checking on me. Because of your actions, my wife cannot get the images out of her mind of what you have done. You have forever scarred her. Because of your actions, my wife had to hand over my children to our community friends to check on my lifeless body. Because of your actions, my children, 4 and 6 at the time, had to go with a grieving friend to find her own child that was in lockdown. It took a while for them to be reunited. Because of your actions, my children are scared to death when they had to cross the same street you drove down. They were bawling and begging me not to cross the street. Because of your actions, I need to reassure my children that it is safe at parades. Not sure they ever feel 100% safe. Because of your actions, not all people in our community are ready to go back to the parades. Again, you stole that innocence from them. Because of your actions, my children are scared of sirens. Because of your actions, they were scared of red SUVs every time they saw one. They cried and hid. Because of your actions, I walked into the entrance of my children's school and felt like a triage unit. I saw children on crutches and a walker. What an awful image to be burned into my memory. Because of your actions, I feel terrible. I could not help my community and the city by testifying during the trial. Your cowardly actions did this. Your actions forced my family to seek out therapy and resolve in their minds what happened. Your actions made us second guess what we did that day. What could we have done differently? During this trial, you show no remorse. It makes you look like a monster. During the trial, you show little regard and respect to the court. It makes you look disrespectful. During the trial, you treated multiple witnesses terribly. You were trying to twist the words of our pastor, who is a man of the cloth. You made a comment to a witness you injured that he was walking fine now. It makes you a callous jerk. Despite what you have done to my community, I forgive you. Forgiveness does not remove the need for justice. Justice must be served and you must go to prison. My prayer is that forgiveness will heal your wounds and the wounds for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Morning, Your Honor. My name is Margaret Pachulis, victim BBB, count 54. I know I am blessed to be here today to present my statement to the court. Darrell Brooks's choices on November 21st, 2021 took a toll mentally, physically, and emotionally on me, as well as affecting my family. I remember the moment someone yelled car, and I turned to see a vehicle behind and to the right of me. My thought was, what is this vehicle doing here? After that moment, I have a void in my memory. My mind won't let me see what happened. I remember my thoughts. Oh my God, this can't be happening. Please, not my hip, not my leg. My next memory is lying on the ground with a person from our group and a nurse talking to me and asking how I was. They worked on keeping me calm and from going into shock. I will always be grateful to them. Every night I would lay awake and replay the incident to see if I could get the memory back. Months of counseling and the passage of time have helped me be somewhat okay with not knowing what happened. One of my fears is that when I least expect it, the memory will return. After being impacted by the vehicle, I was laying on the ground with severe pain to my left leg. Emergency people stopped by, and one questioned whether I had been shot, and all I could think of is why would I have been shot? I was eventually lifted into a police SUV and taken to Waukesha Memorial Hospital. I was examined and was released after being diagnosed with a broken bone in my left foot. I was instructed to wear the boot provided by the hospital, sit in a recliner, keep my leg elevated, and not put any weight on my left foot. I was instructed to follow up with an orthopedic doctor the following week. I went home and found it very hard to get from the car into the house. I couldn't figure out how to walk without putting my left foot down on the ground. My stomach was nauseous from the pain medicine. My husband and daughter assisted me into the house and sat me in a chair. I immediately passed out
and when I came to, my husband and daughter were concerned that I had had a stroke. They called 911, and I was transferred to Aurora Trauma Center. I was examined head to toe and again released with a diagnosis of a broken bone in my left foot. We live in a tri-level, and I was able to get to the lower level where there is a bedroom, a bathroom, and a family room. For the next 6 weeks, I would sit in the recliner with my left leg elevated and ice packs applied. I also slept with a wedge that kept my leg elevated while I was sleeping. After experiencing more pain in my left leg, I was sent for an ultrasound, and the ultrasound found a hematoma on the inside of my left leg. Standing up was extremely painful even without putting pressure on my left foot. It would take me a couple of times of standing and then sitting back down on the side of the bed until I could bring myself to hop on my right leg using a walker for balance to get to the bathroom or to the recliner. My husband had to help me in and out of bed due to the extreme pain in my lower left leg. I couldn't dress or undress myself, take a shower, go to doctor's appointments, or to mass without his help. Every day he had to apply a gauze wrap and an ace bandage to my left leg to cover the blisters so that as they would burst, they were covered. He then applied the boot sock and a boot. Every day for several weeks, he had to prepare all meals and bring them down on a tray to me. We were fortunate that he was working from home during this time. I had orthopedic appointments and 3 rounds of physical therapy. I am still going through physical therapy. After the bone healed in my foot, I was still experiencing pain in my ankle. The pain limited me. I had trouble walking normally, could not walk any great distance. Going up and down the stairs was best sitting on the stairs and going down that way. As time went on, I was frustrated that I could not perform the simple act of walking down the stairs. Before going to the 3rd physical therapist, frustration set in as I thought I would always have pain and not be able to do all the things I enjoyed, such as pickleball, stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, walking miles, and traveling. My 3rd round of physical therapy found that the whole left side of my body was twisted from the impact of the vehicle. After 10.5 months and 3 rounds of physical therapy, I am now 95% back to normal. All the months of suffering and thinking no one would be able to figure out what was wrong, I was worried that the pain would remind me forever the choices Darrell Brooks made on November 21st, 2021. I wanted my life back. During this time of healing, I felt isolated and frustrated that the Advent and the Christmas season were happening, and I was unable to decorate, shop, or participate as I usually would during the holidays. Emotionally, since being struck by the vehicle driven by Darrell Brooks, I have felt like a victim. Every day I was reminded that I was limited by physical pain and loss of self. The world went on, but I was stuck, not able to move forward. Today, I am taking the final step forward in my journey of coming out the other side of this incident. Life is starting to look like it was before November 21st, 2021. I know I am not the same person that I was before this trauma, but now I have an enhanced appreciation for life and a stronger sense of spirituality. I am grateful to have a supportive family, supportive friends, and my Catholic community of Waukesha who have all walked this road with me. Forgiveness is a choice. I know that I can forgive you, Darrell Brooks, without forgetting the trauma you caused, without you apologizing and acknowledging your actions. This may take some time for me to accomplish, but after today, I will not let your actions take over my life. I will move on. Regarding sentencing, Your Honor, I would like to request that due to Darrell Brooks's total lack of concern for human life on November 21st, 2021, that for each count that the jury returned a guilty verdict, Darrell Brooks received the maximum sentence for each of those counts. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Rogers. My children were victims U and V. I'm a father of 4, 3 of which were marching with me in the parade last November. 2 of my children were struck and injured. I also serve as the president of the Waukesha Blazers baseball and fast pitch organization and was a couple months into that job at the time of the parade. I've debated whether or not to read a statement for this sentencing. At the end of the day, I felt it necessary to have my voice heard. For my sake, for my family's sake, and for the Waukesha Blazers' sake, and for all the other victims. I'm here today with families that I love, and I'm so sorry that this happened. First of all, this event was completely avoidable, and from my perspective, there has been zero remorse, sympathy, or acknowledgement of the victims by the defendant. All he had to do was stop the vehicle when he saw the crowd, and none of these lives would have been changed forever. For this reason alone, he needs to be locked up for the rest of his life. But enough about him. This is about the impact of the event on me, my family, and our Blazers organization. I'd like to speak as a father, first of all. The impact this has had on my family and I has been immense. This last year has been full of confusion, irritation, anxiety, and depression. We haven't been able to live a normal life. The trial has been dragged out, and literally we were pulled back through to relive everything, all because this person wouldn't admit it like a man and take what was coming to him. My kids are some of the strongest people I know, and they have proven that through the faith in God they've displayed throughout. However, the impact this has had on them literally makes me sick. No more parades, that joy is gone. This is something that will never leave them. I'm still learning things today as well about what they heard and saw that day. I pray every night that God continues to strengthen them to push through and know that He is in control. That night when we got home, I'll never forget Caden looking at me with glassy eyes. He looked up at me and said, "I'm really glad Riley is okay," and started to cry. When my wife Stacy sat on the chair next to me that night, it felt different. She hugged me longer than normal and a lot more firm than normal and said, "Thanks for keeping our kids safe." Everyone saw on the videos that were shown, we were literally inches away from losing 3 out of our four children, and myself included. I thank God each day that He spared us and provided the adrenaline, courage, and strength to get my kids out of the way, gather all the kids we could, and pray together. My wife was going to come with us that night along with our toddler son. I play things in my head over and over, imagining what could have been if she would have come. Where would she have been standing when that SUV barreled through? I have flashbacks most days to Maya's jacket slipping through my hand. If I wouldn't have grabbed it the second time, I know what the outcome would have been. Riley still has trouble sleeping, with some nights getting out of bed 6, 7, 8, 9 times because she heard a noise or doesn't feel safe. A few days ago, I was one-on-one in the car with her, and I finally apologized for not finding her right away. Thank God our friend found her and kept her safe, but as her dad, I've lived with the fact that I couldn't find all my kids that night after it happened. I went way too long not knowing where my kids were, with panic overwhelming me. As a father, I can confidently say that this incident had a year-long impossible impact on me and our family. Are we managing? Yes, of course, as God is in control. Now to speak as the Blazers president. This was a happy gathering and almost the kickoff of my presidency with the Blazers since I was only a couple of months in. We were getting to know each other, welcoming a new coach, our new board members, and overall just ready to advertise our Blazers program. Looking back at the pictures from prior to the tragedy, we were so happy. So much love and camaraderie. We were ready for an awesome season. I spoke just prior about my perspective during the event as a father of 3 kids, but as the president of our organization, the weight of the moment to find and account for everyone felt like it was on my shoulders. We had nearly 35 people there. I knew I had lots of help, and for that I can't thank the other parents and coaches enough. The moment was a blur, and gathering and putting kids up in the truck was the priority. From there, the kids I could find huddled with me in the theater, and we said a prayer for those injured and being attended to. I knew that the next few days were going to be intense, but I never fully grasped how crazy the following days, weeks, and months would be. The amount of turmoil and struggle for our Blazers organization was literally insurmountable. From the moment of the incident, the amount of media and law enforcement interaction was exhausting and unending. Media showing up at my door asking for individual participants' status. Unbeknownst to them, the 2 of my children were hurt. There was nonstop email flow, phone calls, planning, coordinating, and filtering through things. It was endless work. This job went from something I truly loved, from my biggest passion in life, to something I cried about for months. I went from giving speeches on Facebook Live about how cool our new indoor facility was, to speaking at Jackson's funeral. From there, the community really pulled together. The amount of love and compassion that came our way was also unending. It was honestly overwhelming. For that, we cannot thank this community enough. Finally, I wanted to briefly touch on the true impact this has had on me. My faith was challenged over the past year, but I can confidently say it's stronger than ever. The hardest part about the whole incident was not knowing where my kids were, not having answers for what just happened, not knowing if more danger was coming. I knew I had Maya next to me, but when I went back and forth screaming for Caden and Riley, that horror plagues me every day. I go back to those moments quite often, And when I watched the videos during the trial, it brought back all those feelings. Pure and utter terror. That's what it was, and that's the impact it still has today. Finally, in closing, I'm a man of faith and wanted to share 2 Bible passages which have pushed me through. First of all, my confirmation passage, Joshua 1:9. It reads, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And secondly, I met with my pastor prior to testifying, and he provided me with an excellent part of Scripture. Philippians 4. It says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understandings, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Thank you for listening, and may God strengthen us all.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Jessica Gonzalez, and this is my husband, Juan Gonzalez Lopez. We represent the Blazers organization, as well as many others, and you could even argue the state of Wisconsin. Last